And the big story right now is about Powell and Trump. If this goes certain ways, it could be tremendously terrible for the investment strata worldwide. This is a bigger thing that people are realizing. Case in point.
To be clear, the tariffs are abysmal. They are a terrible choice. Whether the tariffs are coming on or off again, terrible decision making for this economy. Firing Jerome Powell would be much worse. So much worse. There is the potential that it could set off a global financial crisis.
And NVIDIA, just for one example of many, they say that the tariffs are going to cost them $5.5 billion.
In 2 days, the world lost $10 trillion of market capitalization. By the way, where did it go? Did it get transferred from here to here? No, it got destroyed.
Countries that have less independent central banks tend to have much worse inflationary outcomes and much worse outcomes on other economic dimensions as well.
And I wanted to share this meme going around in China and America both, but this is an example of the propaganda, and they're trying to make fun of Americans and show us that, or make us think about that we're trying to get the jobs that all the children in China are doing right now, that we want to have them back here for ourselves. And it's something I want to show you just because it's a good demonstration of how they're not afraid at all. They're poking the bear very willingly, and they will easily be able to beat us in this trade war. Not a question at all. But just some of the things they've done. They canceled all of their Boeing jet orders, which is 25% of Boeing's revenues. They've threatened to stop being involved with the talks about diminishing fentanyl and fentanyl effects. They're banning Hollywood movies of all kinds, so you can't see Hollywood movies in China anymore. They're adding American companies to the unreliable entities list.
In a trade war between the U.S. and China, China wins. China does not depend on the U.S. market very much. It's about 12% of China's exports. China will do just fine.
And of course, they've laid out a bunch of export controls on rare earth elements. That was a matter of time, and they already have a stranglehold on the majority of the entire world's rare earth elements. One of the rare earth elements is actually in my system right now, and it's radioactive. That's a true thing. Gadolinium.
Take your credit card and you go shopping and you run up a large credit card debt. You're running a trade deficit with all those shops. Now, it would be pretty strange if you then blamed all the shop owners for having sold you all those things. You're ripping me off, you're ripping me off, you're ripping me off. I'm running a trade deficit.
US-based energy fuels poised to produce 6 of the 7 rare earth oxides, now subject to Chinese export controls. So basically, this uranium company is also going to be pulling out a bunch of rare earth elements, and that's in the news now, and so you see the stock price spike up.
So he says, you're running a trade deficit. Look, they're all cheating me. But all that's happening is the United States is outspending its national income.
Look at any other country such as Russia, China, Iran. They're all buying gold like crazy because they're trying to have some kind of hedge against the SWIFT system, the power that the American economic system has over them.
We no longer have an independent central bank that's in charge of the money supply. That's going to set off cascading effects throughout financial markets around the world.
So the United States runs a current account deficit because it spends more than it produces. Why does it do that? We have a big credit card in the United States. It's called the national government. The US government spends about $2 trillion a year more than it takes in revenues.
And I wanted to tell you that the eventual crash that we have is going to be so much worse than it would have been because of the Plunge Protection Team. It gives a misunderstanding of how much control that they can have on the markets if stocks crash. They can temporarily affect things in the short term, but never in the long term. I always say if something's artificial, it's temporary. They will artificially try to stop the stock markets from crashing, but eventually when it's crashing bad enough, it just runs right over, tramples right over that, and it blows past it, and everybody gets burned extra bad because they were assuming the Plunge Protection Team wouldn't allow that to happen. But it's beyond the Plunge Protection Team.
People should understand we are in one-person rule in the United States. Our political system is in a state of collapse. What President Trump did is an emergency decree. Everything he does is an emergency decree. Literally, you can go on to whitehouse.gov and then follow the menu to executive decrees. And there are dozens of them. And each one starts the same way. With the powers invested in me as President of the United States, I hereby declare A, nonsense, B, nonsense, C, nonsense. Because he's king.